Hi, Linda Bowen here from StampingWithLinda.com, your cardiologist since 1997, helping you create cards from the heart. Today is a quick tip on using the Sunburst Thinlet framelit and also Designer Series paper. This is a Love Blossom Designer Series paper. It comes in a paper stack. And so I'm just going to show you how, once again, for us paper hoarders, Designer Series paper hoarders, that we can show off both sides of our Designer Series paper. Bringing in that Big Shot, it comes with the platform and the two cutting mats, and I am just going to lay my Designer Series paper on that with the Thinlet. Now, because there are lots of little pieces, I really want to make sure that it cuts well, so I will run it through my Big Shot a couple of times, because I want to make sure that I get a nice crisp cut on all those rays. So if I run it through a couple of times, then I make sure that I do that. So there we go. Don't hear any more snap, crackle, and pop, so I'm assuming it is done. And what I'm going to do is just leave that Thinlet right on the Designer Series paper. I'm next going to bring in my Big Shot brush. If you have not gotten the Big Shot brush, you really need to, because when you have your Thinlets and framelets, they have little dots in that framelit to help release the paper, and our little brush just goes right in and pops those out. So I'm just going to run that brush along to get those pieces to pop out. And then I always leave it in a box so that all my pieces and parts stay within that box, but especially with this die, because when I pick it up, like so, I want those rays to stay pretty close to where they belong. I'm going to flip that over. Oops, missed one up there. And then I'm going to pull this off of that die. Need to be careful because you don't want to damage those rays, especially with the Designer Series paper because it's lighter weight. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a piece of Whisper White cardstock. This measures 3 3¾ excuse me, by 5, and I'm adding a lot of adhesive, lots of strips of adhesive, because I am going to take and lay that ray down like so, and then I'm going to bring back my little pieces and I'm going to piece them back into the ray. But as you can see, I'm flipping it over so that you can see the back side of that Designer Series paper. So again, I showed you a couple tricks the other last week about showing off the back side of your Designer Series paper. I think that's why we don't use our Designer Series paper, because we want to show off both sides. We can't decide, or at least I can't decide which side I'm going to use. So this is just a quick way of showing all sides of that Designer Series paper. Again, you want to make sure that you put a lot of adhesive on your back piece so that it will stick that paper. But this is very easy piecing this in. And at first, when I first made this card, I thought it looked pretty busy, but it's really soft when you actually form the card itself. Now, if you have a problem, like if you notice here, I've got a little piece that's missing, not a problem. I can take, when I go to cut off my excess, so I'm going to flip that over and just trim that off. I can use one of the little pieces that I'm trimming off to fill in that space if I do have. And sometimes you do just run into one little piece that didn't quite fit on that paper when I went to put my Sunburst on. So I've got that trimmed off. And then I'm just going to take a little piece and just go, I'm going to add a glue dot and just add that right in there. You will not even notice that that piece is pierced in there. So cut that. Then I'm going to bring in a 4-inch by 5 1/4. This is soft suede. Put that on my backing, and then my standard card base, which measures 5 1/2 by 8 1/2. Put that on the front, like so. Now the Sunburst framelit does have a stamp set that matches to put in the center, but I am just going to use a thank you. I have already taken the soft suede and punched out a 2 3/8 scallop, and then I'm going to use a 2-inch white circle. I'm going to take my thank you. This thank you is from the Rose Wonder stamp set, I believe. Because it's photopolymer, I'm stamping on my paper piercer so that I have a nice crisp image. I'm going to take a dimensional, put it on the back, and then add that to that scallop. Next, I'm going to, this little flowers from the Itty Bitty Punch Pack. Now punch that flower out, and then I'm going to go in, I guess I'm just going to use my bone folder. Nope, here's my paper piercer. It's got a nice round edge, and I'm just going to put it on that mat, and I'm going to just make a circular motion with the butt end of that paper piercer, and what it does is it kind of curls that little flower up. Going to then take another glue dot. And once that paper fibers have been broken down, even if you put it in an envelope, it just kind of gives some character to that cardstock. Doesn't look just like a punched image. Going to take my pearl, put it in the center of that scallop. Going to then also add a dimensional to the backing and put it in the center of that card. So there you have a fast Designer Series Sunburst card done with our Designer Series paper and our Sunburst Thinlit. Thanks for joining me. Talk to you real soon.